stage.
And they're certainly a team that's whose rise has been very nice to follow as well, you know, Heroes of the Dorm and all. But let's actually get going with the first best of 3 here. That is going to happen here. Renovatio against the reigning champion, the all-star team, as some might call him, MVP Black. It's a little bit of a story between David and Goliath, you know. Still, although it's considered to be very one-sided, do you really think it's going to be that? Or is there something like a pocket strategy for Renovatio that they can manage to pull off?
I think it's going to be pretty one-sided. The big problem
Don't
here...
ruin my exciting entrance here. Thank you very much.
I'll do what I can. So, I mean, there's quite a lot to Renovatio that we've studied. Personally, they've got their own little prioritizations or whatever. And I think that the skill gap might be a little bit too big for Renovatio here to try and make something happen, but it really depends on how MVP approaches it. I mean, we did mention that those role swaps were potentially there. How carefree are they going to approach something like this?
I mean, I think one of the things that we talked about, Dredd, was the fact that we've now seen MVP lose.
Yeah.
And is that something that they studied, and are they trying to emulate, or are they going to fall into what Kalaris was just talking about, their own comfort zone as far as what their strategy might be?
My only fear when it comes to that is it feels like some of the smaller regions struggle with having heavy comfort picks, where it's even if you watch the calculated approach that Tempest had when it went to fighting against MVP Black, it's not their comfort picks, right? Like, that isn't their comfort strategy, and it seems like the skill gap that you brought up is probably big enough that even if they did do that, it just feels like it's not them, so it won't look and perform kind of how they did in their own region.
Yeah, I mean, to what you're saying there is that, I mean, their regional happened like about 2 weeks ago or whatever, and they were very, very heavily prioritizing the 4 of Rehgar, ETC, Sonya, and Greymane, if I recall, kind of in that order. So it was very, very specific across that board. Not much deviation across the starting picks. They're common, of course, but outside of that, you didn't really see them doing much.
All right, and here we see, of course, the all-stacked roster for MVP Black. We've got names like Rich, Meriday, you name it, they've got it. It's actually insane to see them here in Europe. It's actually going to be the first time for them competing in a non-Asian tournament, isn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah, technically, you might be correct, actually,
yeah,
because they didn't go to BlizzCon.
No,
NA,
did they
right?
go to MSI?
Yeah, they went to MSI, but that wasn't with this
right.
roster. They had lockdown on the roster at the time
true.
when they competed on MSI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see like how these Asian teams that are known to be dominant in Heroes of the Storm, especially during the Spring Split, are going to perform outside of Korea, outside of their comfort zone, Jo. Do you think that's something that might affect MVP Black?
Watching the guys on the screen, they look extremely comfortable. I mean, look how happy he looks right there. I mean, he is ready to go.
Also, you got to remember, they did compete in China and won the Chinese Gold League.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about how does MVP perform on the road compared to, I mean, even their counterparts, Tempest.
Right, and they're joking. We can hear them laugh. They're definitely in good mood and good spirits.
Yeah, very relaxed.
Very relaxed indeed.
Sake's laughter is contagious, dude.
I actually got word that we can move on to the action and see what the map vetoes are going to be and what the first battleground is going to be that these two teams are going to duke it out on. First map is going to be Cursed Hollow. Every pro gamer's dream map, I feel, because it's been around for such a long time, always contested. So something that makes this map so particularly popular, guys.
I mean, the fact that we see this so much, especially in the Asian scene, they love the big maps. They love to be able to prioritize strategy over just like sheer action, but they make the action happen. I think that's something that we do see, and it's something we talk about the Bush meta. Different things that they use to make different things work for the map, and Cursed Hollow is definitely one of those maps.
The funny thing is that even though I don't give Renovatio much of a chance in this series, this is actually one of the maps that I don't mind them on too much when I've watched their previous games. And they've gone over towards things like Last Picks, Abathur, and if that gets banned out, they've gone Vikings. So they've kind of tried to go against the idea of team fighting, especially a team like MVP Black. You don't really want to be doing that. You want to try and bring out something a little bit like that. So maybe we could see that in draft. And from there, maybe they can gain a little bit of momentum.
Cursed Hollow is also one of those battlegrounds where one good move, one good boss gang can actually mean the difference between victory and defeat. So with a lot of heroes also being enabled on this map, I think chances for Renovatio aren't as bad as on any other map, right?
Yeah, I actually think it's pretty appealing to them, not only because of their own performance, but it's also one that MVP Black... MVP doesn't struggle on any map, right? But it's not necessarily their go-tos when it comes to their map selection, so it's kind of pulling a little bit away from MVP, but also accenting Renovatio. So I think that was a great choice. The Greymane ban, no surprise.
And that's something that Kalaris was just talking about, the fact that a lot of teams, especially, have been really high on Greymane just recently. And no surprise he's first ban at all.
So good. And again, you know, if it kind of couples up with what Renovatio have done on this map before. You know, they've had the Greymane available to them, and then a Greymane Abathur is something that in the current meta, I mean, across most regions, is really, really strong right now. So getting rid of that to then potentially not accent an Abathur later on is really cool.
Yeah, also someone who's very strong is, of course, that Illidan. I mean, I'm pretty much sure that the trend is going to continue, that we're not going to see the Betrayer a lot in any of those matches. Because can you tell us why Illidan is still considered to be that strong? I mean, Dread, it's not really a big secret, but just elaborate on it.
Were longer, right? And then they nerfed the stuns. It only like made him a more compelling hero across the board there. And one thing I also wanted to note out is with the ban onto Greymane, for the most part, the Korean scene doesn't fear Abathur too much outside of onto Greymane or kind of Illidan's. They have specific heroes. They do pair it with just really great melees, but Greymane is one of the most terrifying. So with that Abathur you referenced earlier, it really accents MVP later in the draft.
I won't be surprised if this was going to be Li Ming pickup as a second. I mean, they haven't like normally gone to it overall, but they're going to go Falstad then. If they do that. I mean, it kind of fulfills the same role. Like Li Ming, I was thinking for poking tributes, delaying them for a little bit, but this actually offers even more variety, I would say, than Li Ming in this instance.
John, I'm really curious what the strategy is going to be. I mean, we've seen MVP Black so high on to Rhaegar, but when they have the first pick, they tend to lean a little bit possibly more towards a Tassadar pickup. They tend to definitely play around the supports, especially when you look at Rhaegar and Uther. But with Kael'thas still on the board, with Greymane being taken off, it looks like they're going to go Kael'thas here.
I am surprised to see the Kael'thas that high. It's something MVP has actually made major adjustments when facing against Tempest specifically. They have prioritized Kael'thas a lot higher recently, and they're hovering over the card Zim and lock it in. I really enjoy that pickup.
Yeah.
With the support choke is something MVP has been struggling with recently. They do pick up what I consider to be the second best support in the game by a large margin right now, so I do like that choice coming out from them. Already showing adaptation in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, prioritizing supports and playing around supports is something that we've seen more and more throughout all the regions, because as you mentioned, there are these top tier picks like Rhaegar and Karzim just right after that. Sonya is also taken away. Why do you think is Sonya like considered to be such a strong force? Actually in all regions as well. I mean, in Korea and Europe and NA, we see her everywhere.
I mean, okay, so it's the same thing with Illidan, right? She was great before the stuns, right? Before all the CC got removed, and then, or at least nerfed to a certain extent. She only thrives even more now. You had to lock her down and get a large amount of damage onto her. She's great survivability, great damage, single target wave clear. She's kind of a jack of all trades, really, and she can do pretty much everything. So it's a smart choice to remove her right now.
I'm surprised by the new Barak ban. Renovatio really hasn't shown too many tendencies of that. They used it once during their finals against Relics, when they had to play 2 full best of 3s against them. But on this map, they've more prioritized things like Tyrael and even Chen. We've seen Chen from them on this map. I normally see it on like Dragonshire, but ETC, as we said before, their kind of priority pick for them a lot of things. So going down that route.
I think the chokeholds on Cursed Hollow allow for some of those power sides to go in and maybe land a few more mosh pits, depending. But MVP Black, of course, with ETC being picked up, still has 2 more picks for a counter. But this is the part I love of the draft. I mean, they've already got their support. They've already got their warrior. They can pretty much pick up maybe a comfort pick and maybe lead into something like an Abathur, which, if it's going to be a map, I feel like it's Cursed Hollow. All these teams, when we looked at them, all had a tendency, either Sky Temple or Cursed Hollow, to try out Abathur at some point in time.
Go ahead.
When we take a look at Renovatio here, it looks like their draft is very safe. They've got one of those, you can't really do much wrong heroes on every position, right? ETC, Falstad, but now we might actually see a little bit more out of the comfort zone of most teams here.
To be honest with you, actually, Sylvanas is something that's picked up quite a bit by Renovatio. I think across their finals against Relics in the 2 best of 3s, it was 3 times during that.
It's going to be an Abathur, I think, in this type of situation.
If they do, I'd be so happy.
I think it's going to be an Abathur from MVP. There's something Renovatio has done in their draft for the most part. I feel like they're targeting kind of Kyocha without the early Tassadar pickup. Kyocha doesn't play too many heroes for the most part. I'm not saying that he can't by any means, but he has definitely his go-tos. And Tassadar on a non-wave clear map like Cursed Hollow isn't high prioritization. And then once they pull away from that, usually you're going to see him on things like Abathur or Sylvanas. The Tassadar's not too appealing right now. The Sylvanas is already going to be picked up here. They go with the double ting instead. I love.
All right.
Huh. That's so strong. If this isn't about Abathur, I'd be so surprised. Like at this point, with the tendencies that they've shown in the past.
But do they need somebody on the front line to be able to help contend?
That's the problem. It doesn't fit too well, especially against a double warrior like this
against a double warrior.
It's kind of brutal. If they fall back to their comfort with Abathur, I think it wouldn't help them as much against that double warrior kind of style.
One of the things we see a lot of with Falstad is the Mighty Gust boss of the steel,
Right.
but if you go Sanctification on Tyrael, like, there's a little bit of a strategy. Obviously, this last pick is going to determine kind of direction of how they'll go with the picks, but Renovatio, I almost feel like they need somebody. Thrall's still on there. I mean, I almost feel like they need somebody to help contend on that front line, but...
Hello?
And if they do that, you
That's
know,
double global.
the thing about double global is it kind of fits the same mold that an Abathur would or a Vikings would, which is
Right.
what they were showing before. So if they did that, they would still have the potential for it.
I actually like Dahaka more than Thrall in this situation.
Right now,
I feel like they need more heavy of a front line.
Yeah.
Against the Tyrael,
Yeah.
Zeratul, and Murden. There's a lot of beef CC control from MVP Black right now, and the Thrall will be locked in here.
Also, there's a big potential for Tyrael's Sanctification to actually mess with Thrall's Sunbring a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas Dahaka, he doesn't really have those abilities that can get stopped by a Sanctification. Also, of course, we mentioned the global mobility and the ability to split soak a little bit more to give him a little bit more of an early game edge here. So guys, we've seen two interesting drafts here. Very safe on the side of Renovatio, I might say, except maybe for that last Thrall pick. And MVP, what do you make of it? Is that like a standard MVP solid draft, or did they already mess a little bit with our minds?
I was surprised how high the Karazim was prioritized, but I will completely agree with Dred, and I'm happy you said this, that he thinks... Did you say that you thought it was like the second best hero support at the moment?
he's the second best support.
Oh, you're with Europe, I appreciate that. So that's good to see. I like that. Going down the line, I think MVP's draft is really strong.
Yeah.
Really strong.
I'm really curious to see the plays that Zeratul can make on the bigger maps, especially when we see Sky Temple, but Cursed Hollow allows Zeratul to move a little bit more, to get behind the terrain a little bit, to be able to blink in and get good value out of Void Prisons. And Zeratul has the highest win rate, like globally and in the competitive scene.
He has insane win rate, and one thing I want to keep in mind when it comes to the draft as well is that MVP has absurd boss control. When it comes to the composition. Sanctification is going to be able to get onto it, right? You also have the Void Prison as well. Murden's a great target to be able to survive on top of that. Like, there's only a Gust, which is going to be negated through Sanctification, and then the Sundering as well, which could also be negated. I feel like they have a really great tools, which is very important on Cursed Hollow.
All right, guys, so we actually gave you guys out there a little bit of a theory crafting over all these drafts. So normally that's not your style to go short, Jo, I know that, but let me hear your short prediction of who's going to win the best match in this best of three.
Keeping it real short, MVP.
Damn, that was really short indeed. So, Dred, what do you think? Do you agree, Jo?
It's MVP.
Right.
I'm going to have to go the clean sweep. It's going to be MVP, especially with this draft.
I wish I was courageous enough to actually vote for Renovatio, but it's MVP we're talking about. There's a lot of mechanical heroes as well, Zeratul, for example, and Tyrael, and I think they are just hungry to redeem themselves, so I'm going to go with MVP as well, as much as I would like to give the sway to actually the little bit of an underdog team, but maybe. I mean, I would love to be wrong here.
During the day, we can do it.
Yeah.
Just at least one.
Right.
That's fine.
So our casters for the first best of three are going to be Wolf and Calder. So take us to Cursed Hollow.
Welcome everybody to game number 2. We have MVP Black going up against Renovatio, and well, I'm casting with Wolf again. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, you and I get to cast Korea just like the old days when you and I used to cast the GSL together. But this is going to be a great, great best of 3, Calder.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I get to do it with you.
It was a really great opening for us, actually. We get to cast the Korean team right away, and we already have to the left side their opponent, Renovatio, is playing here. And well, as you can already see, that lineup that they drafted is actually pretty sweet. They have a lot of options here. We are currently seeing Envy on his Falstad. We have Jumpy Line on his Thrall. Stronger is playing Rhaegar. Har on the ETC up at that front line. And also, of course, there are Sylvanas with his car.
And on the side of MVP Black from Korea, we're going to have no role swaps, actually, despite the rumors and the posts. Going to be Meride on Karazim, Rich on Zeratul, Kyocha on Tyrael, Saku playing the Kael'thas, and Sign playing Murden. Pretty good drafts from both sides. I have to say, despite the fact that I am the big Korea guy, I like Renovatio's draft and their composition overall a little bit better. And we're going to see if they can actually get an early game lead here with their Sylvanas and their ETC.
I'm really curious to see how much of an impact Zeratul is going to have here, because he's really the hero to watch out for in this series. He's going to put a lot of pressure on Falstad and Sylvanas in particular. These two will definitely struggle a bit. I mean, of course, it comes down to the build to a certain extent as well, but if you're going to see the Warpole Blades, which we definitely should, then he can always stay very, very close to those heroes and try to force them back early on in the fights already.
Yep. Already you can see Rich here just kind of getting bullied a little bit up in the top lane. And, you know, Har is a great ETC player, and one of the things about their composition is that ETC will give them that early game pressure. However, it's not as powerful as it is on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you can actually gank a lot faster. It's a really big map. Looks like Sign of Merida coming up, looking for a jump in onto Jumpy Lion, but he is very careful and aware here. Not going to happen. Rich, though, taking a lot of damage.
Oh, nice. Gets away. Blinks away. But you can already see how Renovatio is trying to take advantage of Sylvanas here. They are starting to push with the 3-lane up at the top, trying to get a few of those towers down. An extra kill against Zeratul would, of course, been fantastic for them. But that Sylvanas is just such a dangerous hero. You can never leave her alone, or you're going to start to lose structures and fall behind.
Yeah, and as you can see, MV Black is rotating up to deal with this. It's really all about Har. If he gets good power slides, they can grab a kill. It didn't happen, obviously, versus Rich just then. As you can see, VYY down here, picking up some soak versus Kyocha.
Now, we have, of course, talked a little bit about the drafts now as well, but we were talking about the Tyrael pick for MVP Black as their last pickup here. And, I mean, you've casted these guys quite a lot. Did you like that? Is that really one of those picks that they usually go for?
They do like to pick that up at the end of things, but I was expecting Kyocha to play something he's more comfortable with, like Abathur, for example, or maybe even, I would have rather seen Zagara than Tyrael with this composition, because Tyrael does really well with the Sanctification with melee heroes, like bruisers like Thrall. Obviously, if you have Illidan, that'll never happen, but if you have Illidan, that's great. But he doesn't work too well with Zeratul. He's going to protect him. He's going to protect Kerosene up in the front lines. But, you know, it's not a bad pick, but I would have liked to see something like Abathur for more global presence on this map.
The interesting thing for the draft as well, to me, is that we have a huge lack of actual poke heroes that we oftentimes see on Cursed Hollow, like Li Ming, for example, who can always interrupt those tribute channels. Even as Tyrande is currently nowhere to be seen, and she's normally really one of those early picks, especially Renovatio. They love to play her. They love to play the rotation game. But in this game now, they went for their second strong healer. They went for Rhaegar here. Great timing here, also on the camps, of course. First of all, we're seeing for MVP the timing even a little bit better, since that Siege Giant camp is going to barrel down the bot lane. Unfortunately for them, the first tribute, those spawns at the bottom, so they're not going to get too much value.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough and annoying to clear this before they rotate down. Just going to go ahead and take that out right now. Rich over here does spot the move down, though, taking a little bit of damage. Merida over here as well. Going to get rooted, and Kyocha is caught out. He will actually dash over to him to save him, but a lot of damage done already to Tyrael. And he is one of the heroes that can delay MVP Black's composition with his Aldruins. Merida is going to come over here and dash to the last second to delay this. Oh, not even. Just going to let it go.
I like the decision a lot. This is actually one of those things that really separates a great team from a mediocre one, because what we're currently having here is really to make that decision. Guys, we had to clear the top siege camp. If we don't do that, especially with Sylvanas at the top lane, we're going to lose towers. We're going to lose maybe even a fort, or at least a lot of health there. And they couldn't rotate fast enough after they killed the siege giants. You could really tell he wanted to interrupt.
Yeah, he really did.
He just said, like, you know what? This is too risky. It's not worth it. It's the first tribute. Just let it go.
Well, they are going to invade, actually, this night camp over here on Renovatio's side. Looks like they were considering committing to it, but they will back off for the time being. They're going to go for Har here. Look at this. Kyocha's in position, and Har is going to have to use his power slide to try to get away. And they're diving the towers a little bit here, but he will escape at the end of the day.
Yeah, they actually had the wall open and were really trying to go behind the towers as well, but then decided against it. I like how Renovatio is actually starting into the game. They even have a slight lead in experience at this point. That Sylvanas push at the top lane, of course, worked in their favor, since they had the better outward scenario with those siege giants pushing top and the first spawning bottom.
It was really lucky spawn for them.
Yeah, and they exploited it. They played it really well. They're actually a bit ahead in experience now.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Black is just going to continue looking for maybe a pick, but Har is always in the perfect spot to get vision of moves like this. And right after they attempted to deny those knights, they did back off, and Renovatio does get that. And this next tribute is going to spawn in just 3 seconds again in the bot. So they're going to need to rotate down there very quickly. And again, they can let this go if they absolutely need to, but they're in better position to deny. They're on the same talent tier here, but a whole level down.
And we're going to talk about those talents in a moment, but for now, we're actually seeing at the top lane, Yoska in a bit of trouble. Nice kill on the side of Zeratul. Rich, well played here, but Har is already on him, and Zeratul should be able to escape, while the fight at the bot lane should end in favor of MVP, since they have a 4 versus 2 situation going for them at this point.
Yep, even that safe double channel there. Rich does go ahead and go back and tap. He's not going to miss any soak here. But that kill was really huge because, like you've been saying this entire time, that Sylvanas is the big threat. And when Sylvanas is dead, finally having 4 men down at the tribute makes sense, because you don't actually have to worry about that push. Yeah. Because she's going to push any lane very quickly. If no one's there, she can get that extra EXP. And they already got the towers down in the top lane, so that fort is open game if she's left alone.
Renovatio is playing actually a pretty impressive game so far, but of course the first kill here for MVP Black. And let's talk talents here for a moment. First of all, we are seeing for Muradin and also for Tyrael both go with their cooldown reduction, Ironforge momentum for Muradin, and we see the Angelic momentum for Tyrael here. At the same time, I want to highlight that we see Zeratul with Seasoned Marksman on level 1, so he's going for the stacking. We still see him with the Vorpal Blades. He used it earlier to get the kill against Sylvanas, who by the way went for the Overflowing Quiver, Withering Barrage and Barbed Shot, so a full Q build on Sylvanas right now. And Falstad, also just to talk about him real quickly, did not go for an auto attack build. He still went into Hammer Gains on level 4, but he is currently going for the Hammer rank stacking with the Gathering Storm on level 1 and Boomerang on 7.
Yeah, it's kind of like the standard, almost hybrid-esque build that he's going for here. Rich going to go for some harassment here on Jumpy Line. In the meantime, though, Sign does get caught. Looks like he's going to actually turn this around, though. The Gravity Lapse is missed there onto Harhar, and he will be able to disengage.
I actually think Rega even cleansed him out there, so really well played on his part. I have to admit that Renovatio is playing this a lot better than I thought, and currently MVP Black is a little bit behind. Here comes the engage against Zeratul, but MVP's Rich is about to get away. No Chain Lightning just yet, goes into stealth and is able to escape. Cooldown now on Sundering. And yeah, Renovatio trying to use that early heroic ability. So far, we don't see MVP Black with heroics yet, and that might lead to another tribute for Renovatio.
It looks like they're actually going to go ahead and try to force this Curse Point. Sake in good position here to poke at it from the bottom, and Kyocha is coming up. He's going to go ahead and Aldruins to deny this for now.
That's a risky play that they're running there, but they have that tens now. Zeratul comes in, 7-sided chosen on Karazim. They're starting to go in. There comes Tyrael dropping the Sank. Thrall goes down. Great kill for MVP, and we have immediately the Void Prison.
And VYY needs to get out of here. He is alone because of that Void Prison. Gravity Lapse going up here as well, and a big silence onto all of Black, and the Ancestral is missed.
What a great kill, and the mosh pit goes in. It's interrupted, but a double kill against Renovatio already. Karazim is down. The healer gone for MVP. They lose Zeratul too. Renovatio is still fighting. What an Ancestral. Really well played here, saving ETC, but Falstad dies.
And with Falstad dead here, it's going to be tough to finish this off. Kyocha barely gets away, just less than 200 hit points. Going to Aldruins once more. Stronger taking a lot of damage. Sign does commit, but now he's going to have to back off, though. Sake coming back up. They may try to go for the Gravity Lapse, but Jumpy Lion is back.
The tribute is still there. And of course with Rega.
Oh,
the Sundering is up again and they go in. But what a great Verdant Sphere Gravity Lapse. Well done by Sake. That definitely saved them there. An amazing fight that we just saw there. A lot of kills for MVP Black, but Renovatio definitely putting up a fight. And to be honest with you, I really think Rega was a bit too hesitant there. He could have either gone for the kill or escaped. He waited too long, and in the end, he got neither.
Sake is actually going to go ahead and go back, and they're still channeling here. This tribute is still available. The longer this goes on, the better for Black, because they have Giants pushing the bot lanes. It's starting to get some damage done onto that fort. So the longer they delay this and kind of buy more time, it does go in their favor. And in fact, it looks like Renovatio is going to back off, and this will put MVP Black on Curse Point. The next tribute they gather will be the Curse. Rich finding some damage here down towards the bot, but this means the next tribute is going to be really important.
I'm absolutely loving this game, Wolf. I mean, at this point, we've been all talking about MVP Black. I mean, of course, you expect them to do well. They are the global champions coming into this tournament. They want to defend their title. But Renovatio is actually really putting up a fight here. They lost a lot of heroes in the last battle, but overall, they are still on par with their opponent in experience, and they really are making it hard for MVP Black. MVP Black is not dominating this game right now, as everybody thought they would be.
Yeah, and they're not going to try to do anything risky at this point. They're doing a little bit of an invade instead of trying to do a greedy boss. This way, they have more vision of what Renovatio is doing, and they want to get a big positive trade before that tribute comes up. They want to have one lead into the fight, so that tribute will be easy for them to take to get that curse. And I'm starting to understand the comp of Black a little bit more. I think what they want to do is do exactly this. Isolate a hero, take out Harhar. In this case, ETC gets blown up, but it's more than, this was just a lucky pick where they found Harhar alone. But I think what they want to do is get 3-4 in the Void Prison and do the 7-side strike on whoever's left outside and get that kill. This is similar to what we see Hyde from Tempest and Korea do as well on this very map with Karazim, so maybe even some influence of that other Korean player in this composition.
There's the curse now. With that great pick that we saw, there was no way for Renovatio to actually defend, so instead they're trying to push the top lane to get a trade going, and it's a very good decision for them. They take down the fort. The curse, of course, is still making sure that they will lose at the bot lane, a fort themselves, but still, look at the experience. They are on the same level here. It's very well done. Rich is still waiting to see if he can maybe make a move here. He's also, of course, attempting to soak a bit of experience at the same time. Very well played here. Jumps in, takes takes a few of the minions down. So far, so good for them.
Yeah.
But in experience, he didn't really get too much from this curse just yet. Wolf.
Exactly. This is perfectly played by Renovatio. Sake actually had to leave in the mid lane as well because of that attack there. But looks like he's going to rotate up. Here comes the Sundering down. Already, Rich is killed. But there's a 7-side strike. Not the best one, but they might pick out stronger here. They're going for it, and down he goes.
Yeah, Rega, you can't unancestor yourself anymore. But that was a great pick against Zeratul. Well played here. I'm liking how they played at this point. And I mean, it's a curse for MVP Black, and they get no value. But Thrall is down, and that could turn things once again as we see Sylvanas trying to escape here. Jumps away again on level 13. We saw it with the Windrunner, and that saves her in the situation. But Haha, on the other end, he has no chance, and ETC is eliminated.
Dead again here, and this will be about a half a level lead that Black takes, but I really do like the way Renovatio was playing that from the outset, pushing the top lane where they knew no one was there, and only Rich alone isn't going to be able to stop something like that. He can soak the XP, as you mentioned. But then they also dealt with Sake in mid and then rotated up, and they got a positive, well, not a positive trade, but like as good of a trade as they could have there as Black collapsed a little bit later. But Black is now going to go ahead and take this boss. Rich is going to meanwhile scout the boss. And Rich, a player who when you used to be able to do this with Void Prison, would steal a boss in the case like this, but it's just going to be scouting and making Renovatio scared.
It got leashed, and that's the problem. The rotation is ongoing. He can delay with the Void Prison. They should give it up. They won't be able to take it here. That's just not going to happen. Extremely well played by Rich, forcing them back for a moment. The boss gets leashed, is at full HP again, and they just don't have the burst damage to take it down in time, especially with Rich still having his Void Prism up. Talking about Rich, by the way, and his Zeratul, just to give you guys a bit of an update, we're currently seeing him on 18 extra damage, so it's roughly halfway through with his season marksman to complete the quest talent. When we're talking Fawcett, we have him at 52 extra bonus damage, and he went on level 13 into the Flow Rider. So he's trying to go for Flow Rider Aerial Gust combo to get the additional cooldown reduction. And for a moment, he actually tried to steal that boss away.
Yeah.
It looked a bit like a waste of a cooldown, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any chance that he's able to really make that play.
Yeah, I'm not
there.
entirely sure about that one. That was a bit risky. In fact, nearly dying as well because he was so nearby. Kyocha was looking for him. But obviously the double boss play here is really powerful. It doesn't line up with a curse, but it's just going to do more structural damage.
Very interesting talent taken, by the way, on level 13 on the side of Muradin. Muradin went for the healing static on level 13, and now on 16, we have him with Give Him the Axe.
This is starting to become more popular in Korea right now, in fact. And it does so much extra damage after the buff.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if you're used to a more Western style, those are really talents that you don't see all too often, but even more sustained for Muradin. And he is already a beast, and he's trying to use that. But look at MVP pushing that bot lane. They want their keep, and they're really putting the pressure on. They still have a few of the heroics up. The boss is trying to go through it. It's not down just yet, but it will fall if they push the... Yes, and they do. They push the attack. Here comes the Mighty Gust, but they're still fighting.
I think they're staying a bit too long. Look at that 7-strike going down. Jumping Lion is caught at the back. Kyocha goes in. He's alive with 40 health. Finally goes down. Harhar blows up as well. And this is actually 2 deaths already for Renovatio. Black will back out here, but they got to keep and 2 kills, and they're going to easily get this tribute. It's going to be totally free, and they can even rotate back to maybe even take the bruisers after they do this as well, since it's spawned so close by.
And the interrupt against the Mosh Pit was absolutely crucial. Rega actually had Cleanse still up, but didn't use it to try and cleanse ETC a bit, to just give him a slight edge here. He could have maybe made sure that ETC gets the duration through at least a bit longer to get some value here, but with ETC being interrupted, there was just the entire force of MVP Black jumping in right away. Now we have 16 versus 16 talents, and we are actually seeing MVP Black starting to take a very solid lead here. Not only did they take the advantage in experience and are closing in on 18, but they dropped that keep at the bot lane, and that is going to be huge for them, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be the boss lane when they offensive boss, if they go for boss steals later on, which is absolutely something you can do once you get Holy Ground for Tyrael. You've got Sank, and obviously the 7-side strike will help you get a boss steal as well. So that's something that Korean teams love to do on this map, is kind of build their talents around that. And I think the extra damage that we're seeing from Give Him the Axe from Murden is going to really pay off in longer, drawn-out fights, which is actually how these fights have been going for Black. They're, basically re-engaging over and over and over again.
It's already showing. I mean, we only had the talent, of course, coming in the last fight, but he's currently at 18,000 hero damage, which is not too bad if you consider that Kel'Thas with 26,000 is currently the best or highest damage hero on the side of MVP Black. When we're talking Zeratul, is at solid 22k. On the side of Renovatio, we currently have Falstad in particular with 29,000. 1,000, so he takes the lead in the game too. The poke that he's currently working with his Hammer Rank build is really shown. And you just saw the talents right there on 16 as already expected. They went now for the Airy Gust, so he's going to have that cooldown reduction going for him. Let's see if Renovatio can make something happen here, because this is of course another tribute to fight over, and they are going to take a stand here. Here comes the Sundering and the Phoenix.
Decent Sundering. Look at the Sanctification. It's basically perfect. It looks like they will actually get the Ancestral off, but already 2 dead. The Void Prison will isolate Iskoa here, and he is going to get Gravity Lapsed and killed, and that is going to collapse onto the remaining members. This is going to be a wipe. Kaldor, UIY tries to barrel roll away, but he's going to go down.
Down goes Falset. Well played, Zeratul and, well, MVP Black in particular. These guys made a great move there. Great coordination, and much better than the early team fights that we saw in this game. They're really fighting the rhythm here. The only one that was able to escape is ETC, and now they're just pushing through that top lane. Also preparing, of course, for another potential boss that they can take once that it's up on the map again.
And they're on Curse Point. They're on Curse Point, so any objective they gain here will give them the Curse. So what they can do easily now is just back off, take their own boss, and then as that boss is pushing, force Renovatio to respond and take the Tribute. Before the Tribute spawns, before the boss is ready, they're even going to go ahead and take this keep wall down in the top lane.
Yeah, even if they don't take the keep, if they just open up the wall, once that the boss is taken for the top lane, it will go straight for keep, so they just open up another win condition for themselves with this.
And they have 20.
Yeah, exactly. They have 20, and in the meantime, Rich is simply in the mid lane taking down another one. And with 20, we see now Arcane Power. We have also Transgressions taken, Hardened Shield on both of the frontliners, and the Rewind on Zeratul. They are in an absolutely fantastic spot now.
And when you get Transgression as well, with the not only do they have Transgression, they also have that huge scaling difference. If you catch someone out, if you get the solo 7-strike, that person is going to die no matter what. And obviously if you catch Har here, it's going to be all their initiate is gone. His mosh pit is so important. And they just let this curse go, obviously, because there's nothing they can do about it. And Black doesn't do the risky boss into the curse. They go for the curse first. But here comes an invade by Har, only alone, but the rest of the team is coming up. Maybe they can go for a Mosh or a Sundering to turn a fight.
Yeah, but time works in favor of MVP Black. Har is already low. They're trying to fly in with Falsa. That was, of course, detected. ETC is falling. It's very unlikely they can make a move here, but they go for Kel'Thas, and they are able to take him down against level 20s. The Void Prism is out on the other hand. Everybody moving in. Envy's trying to get the kill. Starts it off with the Mighty Gust, trying to slow them down, but already the death of Sylvanas, putting them into a 3 versus 4. There goes Thrall as well, and this is a disaster for Renovatio.
Absolutely, and not even a necessary Sanctification there. Looks like Stronger will be chased down and stunned. He's got nowhere to run here with Meriday nearby as well. Looks like they might even just let him go because it doesn't matter that much. They don't want to waste this curse. They're going to go into the mid lane. Vi is there, and you can see the power of Seasoned Marksman, a pretty rare talent in Korea, coming into work here, and they could dive the towers. It is Curse, and with 4 down, this is pretty much guaranteed a win here in game number 1 for MVP Black.
Oh yeah, I mean, Seasoned Marksman isn't even completed yet. He's at 38 extra damage, but if you consider that currently Rhaegar has only 35,000 heal, that says a lot. On 13, he didn't even go into the tidal waves. He tried to go for the Earth Shield, which can be a huge win, of course, if your opponent goes for Snipe Comp. And with Transgression, you can argue that Earth Shield is a great tool here to keep a hero that gets isolated alive, but I feel with the tidal waves, they would have maybe survived in those team fights a bit longer, get the extra sustain. Because if you just like compare it to, for example, Karazim, he's at 55,000 heal already.
Without, you know, Palm, mind you.
Yeah, without Palm, and also without the Echo of Heaven. He went for Cleanse on level 7. He took, of course, Soothing Breeze even. And sorry, I looked at the icon, and for a moment I actually thought it was still the heal. So he didn't actually take any big heal talents here. That's pretty sick. I mean, that heal, out-healing Rhaegar, without picking any of these normal heal talents that you see there, that is insanely strong.
Well, you know, Black didn't do what they would normally do in Super League in a moment like this with 4 down. They normally would have cored, but instead they're kind of just playing this insanely safe. They're going to back off, take Mercs. Their boss is available. You know, in fact, both bosses available here. Rich is going to go for a solo kill. Nothing out of the ordinary. And he's going to be able to get away. Looks like they're trying to punish him for this. There's the Sundering, and they will actually grab him here. We're going to use Void Prison. It's not over yet. No, the fly goes into the Void Prison.
Into the Void Prison.
Stronger probably needs to turn around, man. I don't think he should commit to this. And don't forget, 7-side strike is available.
Oh, God, that was beautiful. Like, Fonset is like, I got this. And straight into the prison is like, oops. I mean, of course, he couldn't have foreseen that. It's not his fault, but it was really funny.
I think this is a bit of showmanship what we're seeing for Black. They're not trying to end the game. They just want to get a lot of kills and make this look really fancy. They're having fun, and then...
You play it safe at this moment. I mean, now it's going for the boss, and that will go for cost straight away. This is Renovatio. They have to fight, and this is not a fight you want to take. You are in a 4 versus 5 situation. You don't want to fight here, but they have to. They know if boss is taken, it's over, and they're doing whatever they can to somehow still stay in the game. A great heal here on Forster, just barely saving him. Here comes the mosh pit and the turbines. It's an amazing one, but they lose the boss. The problem is still, though, they killed Muradin, but they lost ETC, they lost Rhaegar.
And I know this is probably pretty rare for MVP Black fans to see them pass level 20. VYY is going to fly away there and escape just barely. He's actually playing an incredible foul set, escaping death multiple times, but it's rare to see Black go post level 20, but they even have the scaling advantage. They're fighting 5v4 there. They had the better zoning, and even with that mosh pit, it was just too little too late. And that is going to be game over here in game number 1.
Fawcett, by the way, in the entire game did not even cross the 100 damage bonus on his level 1 talent. That's of course, is pretty brutal. I mean, if you go for Gathering Storm, then you want to do a little bit more than that. Right now, MVP Black about to end the game and therefore taking the lead in the series.
Yep, GG, there you have it. That is going to be MVP Black taking game number 1. In pretty convincing fashion, not having the easiest start to the game, but once they got their heroics online, they started team fighting better, and we saw Renovatio do some cool bush tactics, trying to catch them off guard, but MVP Black always safe, always checking, and the 7-side strike, I think, is like really the big MVP here, just so much isolation, so many early kills, and as every time that Renovatio was fighting towards the mid and the late game, they were fighting like a 3v5 or a 4v5 because someone got picked.
I still have to admit that I think it's absolutely insane that Meriday is able to get such crazy heal numbers out, considering that he didn't go for any of his healing talents. And if you compare that to Rhaegar, who ended up with 44,000 heal, picked up a bit at the end of the game, but we have 70,000 for Meriday on his charism. That was absolutely impressive. But still, Renovatio, at the beginning of the game, they really made some plays work there, and they had the experience lead for quite some time. They actually did very well in a lot of the team fights too. So it was not as like one-sided as we thought it would be.
Yeah, and I do feel like I saw a lot of potential there for Renovatio, and their ETC play was really good. Hard trying to go for picks early, nearly killing Rich like in the first 2 minutes of the game, just looking for the picks, using the Sylvanas composition the way it's supposed to be, getting that early push and getting that early damage. MVP Black obviously knew that was the problem, and they kind of just played against it, but it was definitely a good start for them, and maybe they can take a game in this best of 3.
And of course, we're very interested to hear what our analysts have to say about our first map before going to head into the second one, so take it away, Kendrick and the boys.